It is forecast to snow in 2 days' time, so I really want to get the diesel heater in before that happens, because I do want to kind of start sleeping in the van and testing it out and just have a bit of break from the van body over winter. So a while back I ordered the hot water and heating system. I've got the, I never know how you say it, Bobo, the hybrid hot water system, and I bought the package with a 4 kilowatt Autotherm diesel heater. I'm going to kind of run through what this system does at some point, because it's a bit different to other kind of hot water and heating systems out there. The hybrid element is really cool, and I think that's going to be really helpful to get the easiest and cheapest way of producing hot water all year round, and using whatever resource I have plenty of at the time. So I've got all my parts here for the diesel heater, and the whole setup, including all of the water elements, are going in this space here, which we thought would be quite straightforward. However, there's only very specific places we can put the diesel heater, because it has to go through the floor. It needs a turret like this size that's got to be able to go all the way through the floor, and underneath the floor around here I've got a great big beam coming right across here, and I've got another coming right across there, and obviously the places that you want to put the heater is going to be there or over here. So we've had a bit of a think about how we can do this, and realised that whilst the diesel heater has to be on the floor, we do have a decent amount of height in this cupboard, and we can raise other things on platforms to sit on top of the heater and over the heater, and then that will allow us to squeeze everything into here. So I'll have eventually the diesel heater, the hot water tank, the heat exchanger that uses the diesel heater to heat the water that goes into the hot water tank. I also have the water filter pump and accumulator in here as well. So this is my sort of water and heating system. I've got these cables here. These are going to be tucked up out of the way, nowhere near the water system in the end. So first thing to do is drill a massive hole through the floor. We spent pretty much the entirety of yesterday just figuring out where we can drill this hole and how it's all going to tie together, and how it's all going to go underneath, and then how we're going to feed the fuel line from underneath over to the diesel tank, which is kind of down here somewhere. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Yes, we drilled a hole through. That's come up just here, so you know where to drill through from the top down. I'm really nervous to do this. What if it goes horribly wrong?
What can go wrong?
Everything. Right. Sorry, floor. Love you. Layer 1.
Step 1.
Now we've just got all the other layers. Ha-ha-ha.
Let it snow.
I got it. Let's hope this goes.
It will.
But you might not get it out again. Oh yeah. So we take everything out of the box. There is an intimidating number of parts and pieces, which, yeah, it's quite scary to begin with. But once you read through the manual, it starts making sense, especially once you read through it 4 or 5 times, which is what we've done. So there's all these little bags of different mounting parts, but helpfully they are all labelled, so I recommend not opening any of these until you actually need them, and then you can't get it all mixed up. So the air intake is the first bit I'm going to do, so that's this bag here. Trying to put all this together. Instructions don't make this part entirely clear. I think these bolts and nuts that came in the bag says mounting kit of exhaust pipe and heater might be the right ones, because I got no others. So got a little lock-in washer, and then we're trying to find a way to get into this hole and do them up, and put the bolts on top, and then I'll put these Jubilee clips on those. Let's see how this looks underneath. There they are. Right, I've got the various mounting bits that go with the exhaust and the air intake, so now I've got to get underneath the van and hope it all has somewhere to go. Got this air intake here, got my very long exhaust which needs cutting down here, and now I need to figure out where I can mount them underneath. So I need to drill a hole in here. This is the muffler silencer thing for the exhaust. That will allow it to condensate out depending on how you fix this. The angle depends on where you want the hole. So I want mine here, that's where the hole's going to go. We put the whole thing together to put through the floor to test the fit, and then decided these were too long, so Dad's taken it apart again. I've got to take 5 inches off of this and then put it on again. So centimetre gap for the end, and that's the exhaust ready to go in. Got this insulation on as well because apparently it gets very hot. So you're there, maybe there, here, and then the fuel is gonna come in the other direction, and that'll be fine. Okay. Oh, of course, of course. I'm never getting that on without taking the whole thing apart again.
What?
Right, time to do some drilling. Three. That was much quicker than I thought it would be. Brackets and screws is what I need next. Ah, upside down. I think I need to be upside down.
Upside down. Then turn around.
Don't tell me my hole's not big enough. I just want to go in my hole. Ooh. Come have a look at this screw. It's all churned up.
Is that self-tapping screw?
Yeah. Should I try a different screw? Right, that one's gone.
Gone where?
In.
Oh, right.
Might just been a dodgy screw or a dodgy angle I got or something.
I'll go for dodgy angle.
It's difficult upside down. This one doesn't like me either. I got this one in, but it doesn't want to tighten. I'll take it out. You can always clean it up after, can't we? There. It's pretty cold today, so I'm up to the hat game because I've got to get this in. Feeling determined. Show must go on. Let's get this diesel heater in. I'm having a bit of trouble here because I just can't seem to get this bolt through. So I've got this plate which is going to mount up onto the chassis beam here. Trying to get the screw out, I've somehow managed to snap that in half. A lot of the ones I've put in have churned up. They're the same self-tapping screws that I've been using everywhere else in the van with no problem at all, and here they just don't like it. They give you bolts to put it through, but I can't put a bolt through this because I've got no way of putting a nut on the other side. So screw is all I have. I just hope they hold. and don't snap in the future. Goodness knows. So the next problem is that this basically mounts up there, and this doesn't want to squeeze any tighter shut without a lot of give, so I've got to try and squeeze this all through and put a bolt in, but you've only got like a couple of mils to actually put any traction on for the squeeze, so I don't know why they didn't give you longer bolts. I found a longer one just in my random box, so I'm going to try and put that together instead, and then I can actually use the washers, because there's no way you're going to get all that through. Well, they want a washer and a locking nut and a nut and to squeeze all that together. I mean, come on, that's better. Actually reach that now. I really wasn't happy with the way those screws were rattling around, so I've tried a riv nut and that has worked, so I can just about get the tool under here without raising the van, which is good. So now I've got to just do the other two and get that up there as well. And it's freezing and I can't feel my hands, I can't feel my toes, but I've got to get this done. Right, that looks so much better. I got a riv nut underneath, then the bracket, lock-in washer, and the bolt. And that, I am confident, is going nowhere. So, air's in. I just got the exhaust next. That's got 2 bolts, and I've already got the riv nuts in there and there. Then I've got to take the fuel all the way down to the front somewhere and into the tank. I'm just actually going to do a quick recap of what the instructions said regarding how to fit these, because we spent a lot of time trying to figure out the best way that kind of ticks all the boxes. So both of them want to be coming downwards without having any kind of U-bends, it just wants to be a straight line down. So this exhaust comes out of there and that goes in a straight line down and points over there. The air intake is the same, that is pointing down in that direction. The other rules is that they both have to face in the same direction, which is that way, rather than having one left, one right. They also both want to be facing backwards or sideways. They want to be never where the sort of airflow of the van when you drive in is going into your air intake. And then the ends of them need to be at least 20 centimetres apart. And I reckon this is probably about 1 foot, so I should be fine with that. And then of course on top of all of that, you need to make sure that your exhaust isn't going anywhere near any kind of gas intake or anything that is going to cause any kind of problems with. So mine's kind of pointing generally in this direction. There's loads of space here, so it's got tons of room around it for that heat to diffuse. So hopefully we've done this by the book. Now I've got to try and do the same for the fuel. Hello. Oh god, it's so cold. I really thought this whole diesel heater would be in like a day, maybe 2. No. I think we've spent like a full day, 2 mornings, a lunch, and I'm halfway into the next day, and I haven't even started on the fuel line yet. It's just, I just had so many problems, like things I didn't foresee popping up, jobs that have become so much harder than I expected them to be, and it's also absolutely freezing. So yeah, going in for some lunch and a break now, and then it's fuel line. I finally, for the first time in this whole diesel heater install, found something that actually works in my favour and not against me, which is there's already a piece of conduit and some kind of cabling running exactly the same path along the bottom of the van than where I want to put mine, and it opens up nice and easily. There's space. So that just goes in there, and then I could do it up again and happy days. I can run this the whole way along. Right over there is where the diesel heater comes out, and I've now run the fuel line along across the back behind where the water tanks are going to be, but it's also where some other cabling is, so I know it's out the way and fine. And it runs all the way along here following the conduit clips that's already in place and down to here. I'm going to mount the fuel pump up on here, and then it's going to run where that red wire is a test hole coming down from the side of the diesel tank, so I know there's a route down there. So then I'll just follow again some of this existing conduit and clip it into there. The next job then is to tap into the diesel tank. The instructions for this install say they highly recommend you install a diesel filter, but they don't include one despite the price tag, so I've gone and bought one separately. I bought it from the same company, just so I know it's definitely compatible and up for the job. I'm trying to get the end off of this to assemble it, which really doesn't want to come off, so I've got some grips to try and help me. But I think also looking at, there's some bubbles. I think it's full of diesel. I think they pre-filled it. I've already put the clamp on because that was really hard to get over. That slides on, but took some work. I knew that would be hard to do once it's all joined together, so that's on now. I know the direction of flow is that way. No, I'm just going to put the whole thing over this bag in case I get diesel coming out of this. Honestly, with this, sometimes some of the jobs that you just don't think are going to be difficult are the hardest ones. Right, he's off. Is that diesel? Yes, it is. Smells like diesel. So, right, this goes on. A clamp. Never going to get over that lump. I feel like they make this job harder for you, honestly. Right, screwdriver. Everything with this has felt harder than it needed to have been. There's only so much you can loosen that before you lose the bite. There we go. They make a lot of fuss in the instructions about not over tightening these, but God, how do you know what too tight is? And the filter doesn't give any idea that there's a right direction for this, so can only assume it's the same both sides. Right, it's not all the way on, but it's on certainly far enough because the ridge is over there and my clamp is fully covering the coupling after the ridge, so I think that'll be alright. If you're doing one of these, I suggest you put both ends of the coupling on before you put one of these on. It just makes it so much harder to hold. And maybe don't leave your coupling in a -2 degrees van overnight. That might also help. Oh, that ain't going on. Come on. Stupid thing. Is that enough? Almost. Why is every part of this an absolute faff? It's not coming out, is it? So this did not want to come out. People on the internet say remove the bolt and then remove the breather pipe, and it's taken us about half an hour to remove the pipe because it just did not want to budge. But now it's out. So now the whole place smells like diesel, but I can drill a hole finally. Let's hope it's in the right place. Perfect. That'll do. Right. 2 hours later, we need to trim down this feeder pipe, but I'm just going to get these cables out of the way because they're no good here. And I've got this to go in in its place. So I'll leave that one in where it is. See if I can just shove this down somewhere and follow it. See if it doesn't poke out the bottom. No, that didn't work. I'm going to see if I can go up the other way. I can see it. The question is, can I reach it? I think I need another pair of hands. I wish I'd got it on camera, but all this ice just fell off from the roof. I've swept it up, it was just covered all down here. It hit Dad right on the head. I was in the van. You can see how much has fallen off. Made this massive pile on the ground. That's obviously been knocked off the dashes. And I've been sweeping it all up inside. And I just looked at the door. Look at this. Look at the state of this. Oh God. The whole door's covered in snow. How am I going to get that off? I don't know. Carefully, I think. Nothing is going the way you want it to with this install. It honestly isn't. Oh, what a mess. If only I had a diesel heater installed to warm it up and dry it out. If only. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't want to go too far, so I don't want to kink it.
No.
Because once you've done that, you've had it. There's no going back, you know.
Yeah, just make sure this is facing up. Done some more adjusting. Hopefully this is the right one. I think that fits. So I need to fix this. It will go up here, but I'm not going to do that until we have turned the system on, because you have to turn this up to get all the air bubbles out so that this does its job as being a silent pump. And here's the setup in here. So I'm just going to put some epoxy resin on that connection into the breather pipe. Then I have got the fuel line finished. So I'm using this Abro steel. It's like an epoxy putty. Slice off a bit that you need, smoosh it up, and then you just apply that where you want it, and it sets really, really hard. And it is diesel proof, so I know I can use it safely in that connection. Alright, that's smooshed all over there nicely and around, so that's the fuel line done. On to the electrics. So, electrics. The fuel pump is about here underneath the floor, so I'm going to wire it straight into my electrics area here, but obviously I got to come up through the floor somewhere. Now, we were originally going to put the diesel heater in here until we swapped things around to better distribute the weight. So I actually made a pilot hole down here months ago that I was going to use for the diesel heater to check that location. So we're now going to use this one to pull some cables up through here. I've got a few things to come in. One will be for the B2B, one will be for this diesel heater pump, and I'll also have the water level sensor from the water tanks that are going underneath, and the 12-volt heating pads on the tanks too. So I'm going to make a nice big hole, run everything up through conduit, and then eventually I'll fill it up with expanding foam to fill in the gaps. So I'm not actually going to get a drill in here without hitting my stuff, which I do not want to do. I think I'll manage with the inverter in place, but I'm going to take this panel off and see if I can move out of the way enough to clear some space to access this hole and hopefully be well clear of any cables. Obviously I've turned the system off first. So this is the controller that comes with the heater. I'm just fixing this in now to my little monitoring station where I have my little controls. The controller comes with a 2-meter cable, which I'd already routed into my monitoring station thinking that my diesel heater was going to live here and it pokes out down the bottom somewhere, but now I've moved it to be in here. I need a longer cable, so I bought one. I think it was about 35 quid, which is annoying, but I need to reach from there to there. This is how you do it. So bought another cable, just going to wire that through now. I've cut a little bit of this pipe down to go in the hole. This is a 43mm pipe, I think, on the outside, and I got a 44mm hole saw bit, so that perfectly fits through there. So it's basically got a little bit extra top and bottom, so I can seal around there with some silicone sealant. So I'm just gonna paint all over it now. Stupid. Anyway, I'm gonna put some silicone around here, pop it in the hole, and then I can silicone top and bottom. Just the metal handle on this gun is so cold I can barely touch it without gloves on. It is 1 degree today. And boy, don't you feel it. A second. Just try to get some down. Okay, hole is siliconed, top and bottom. I'll just let that dry, and then I can run my fuel harness through that hole and connect it up there. So whilst I'm letting that set, I'm just doing all the other connections down at this end for the heater. So I've run them. I've got a bit of conduit running through here so I can get things from one side of the van to the other. And I've got the Christmas tunes on, of course, because it's December. So all I've got left over here is the electric hookup. So I'm going to put new ends on, pop it into here with, I think it says a 25 amp fuse. And then I can turn this on. Right, this is the last bit to connect, which is the fuel pump bit. So it says to push these in until you hear or feel a click. Okay, we're ready to test this out. So first thing I've got to do is put the electrics back on. And then maybe something comes up on here. It does. Dad's down here waiting for the click from the fuel pump. Right. No idea how this thing works, but something's happening. Because this is firing up. I can feel suction there. There's air coming out of there. And the pump is ticking away. I'm expecting it to air it out because it hasn't been primed, because we don't have anything to do that with, nor the inclination to take it apart again. So this is ticking away, hopefully filling up with fuel, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, we've got fault 13 as expected. That's the second time now. Hopefully the next one will be the one.
Lucky.
So this is embarrassing. I think there's actually not enough fuel in the tank to run it, because I had a look underneath. Look, there's only this much fuel in the filter, and I think it's tried like 6 times to start up, and the fuel line is empty. So I think this feed into the tank isn't actually reaching the diesel level, which I deliberately kept quite low so that this would be easier to install. And obviously it's very hard to predict exactly where the base of this ends, because you've got to try and bend the pipe in and then straighten it inside. So yeah, guess I need some more diesel, which means I've got to get everything fixed enough to drive and get some, and maybe try and do it before it snows again. Alright, I've got a full tank of fuel now. Let's see what happens. come on, you can do it. It did not work, so there's a problem somewhere. It's got to be with the fuel line, because that's obviously the problem that we're having, and hasn't been fixed by filling the tank of diesel to the top. So I've gone on some Facebook groups to try and get some help, had some mixed responses, some people just being really rude about how we'd done it, despite following the instructions from the people that sold it to us, who I do trust. They've contacted me, having seen the posts actually, and said, we think you've done this fine, you just need to basically pull the fuel through, which matches what I'd had from the helpful comments. So we're going to disconnect the fuel line, blow some bubbles through to make sure that it's not blocked and it's reaching the diesel tank, there's a full airway, and then try and suck it through to prime the fuel line. So I've got a bucket ready, and I'm going to use the spare bit of fuel line so that I don't get a mouthful of it, because I don't like the sound of that very much at all. And if this doesn't work, then there's probably a problem with the pump itself, which means I have to get another pump, and it means that my Christmas and New Year plans are ruined. So here's hoping it's just the fuel in the line needing to be pulled through. So once I've pulled it through to the fuel pump, the pump should then push it through the system the rest of the way. Wish me luck. Plot twist. I took this off and diesel started pouring out, which is incredible because I thought there was nothing in the system, but here it is, drip, 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 drip. So I guess I put it back on again and try and prime the system with the pump. I'm very confused right now. So I know the line's clear because it's coming through. So I guess that's question one answered without too much hassle. The problem is, now I've got to get it back together, and it's dripping with diesel. Just that bit for now. This looks promising to me. I can see little air bubbles pushing back from the pump to the filter, so theoretically it's sucking the fuel in, pushing the air bubbles out. It's slow, but it's happening. So maybe I just need to do this again and again and again and give it time. It's working! I've got hot air coming out. Oh, thank goodness. Done a happy dance, didn't get it on camera, sorry to disappoint. Says it might smoke when it starts up for a bit, but looks fine. Nothing going on there, looks good to me. It's on, it's working, it's getting warm in here. I'm so relieved. Oh my god, that was not a fun install. I really thought it would take me like a day, maybe a little bit more. And we've been working on this for 2 weeks, not every day, but probably about 5, 6 solid days in total. It's mad how long this takes. And I see people online going, oh, I can do one in 15 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I bet you can. But what the hell? It takes 15 minutes just to try and get a nut on because everything is just so awkwardly positioned. But yes, this completes my diesel heater install. I don't think I've said it yet. This is absolutely not a how-to. You're supposed to get these fitted by professionals, ideally. But I just thought everyone else does it, why can't we do it too? And it wasn't so much that it was difficult, so much as it's just, you just have to really concentrate, read the instructions properly and make sure that you're following them. The one I got, which is by Autoterm, who are also Planar, same company I think, their instructions were really good, they were really comprehensive. There were parts that were missing, like they tell you the way to connect things but not actually how to. I guess they've written instructions for a professional to follow. I wouldn't have bought a Chinese cheap one. They are copies of good heaters. You just never quite know what you're getting. I see a lot of people install them successfully, and I also hear a lot of people have a lot of problems with them. So you get what you pay for, I think, with this. The other downside to those cheap ones is they quite often don't come with instructions. There's been a Facebook post doing the rounds this week about 1,000 of them being seized by trading standards at the ferry ports or somewhere, because they didn't meet the UK's laws for instructions, safe machinery, basically. I think that says a lot. Anyway, look at this. I got lovely hot air coming out of here. Obviously this is not going to be the final setup. I'll just put that on to redirect the air out of here rather than inside. It makes quite a noise, but it will be, you know, underneath the seats in here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a platform over here, and that will be where the heat exchanger sits for the water tank. This is going to go into that, and then it's going to split. One of them will come out of here, and the other one will go into the hot wash tank, which is going to be here. So I'll do a video on that later once I've got that in. In the meantime, this has gone up from 2 degrees we started on to 8 degrees in about 20 minutes. Pretty happy with that. I think it'll be quite toasty in here, and it means that I can go away for Christmas and New Year and spend some time with friends. Much as I love my family, I think everyone needs a break at Christmas. I know normally people go home to family, but this year I'm going to do something a little bit different, have a little time away from the van build, but also have a bit of a test run in it, see how it feels before we do any more of the build. I've got a bed, I've got heating, and I've got a toilet, which is all you need to overnight somewhere for a few days. I'll be with friends who I can use their facilities in the houses. It's just somewhere to sleep really, and have a bit of a trial run. So thank goodness that's done, is all I can say.